Hey, how's it going everybody? In this video, I'm going to be talking about my Goliath Rift level 20 team. I've referenced this in another video where I talked about priorities for ascensions and leveling. If you haven't seen that, you can find that in the description of this video. And basically in that video, what I did was I outlined what you should focus on in terms of hero ascensions and what your priorities are depending on where you're at in the game. With any hero being able to be ascended to 6 stars, it can be sort of difficult to decide who you should focus on first. What heroes are good, all that kind of stuff can be difficult. So that video explains that. But one of the key priorities was to focus on your, what they call G20 team, the Goliath Rift, down here, Dark Woods, the Goliath Rift level 20. And so in deciding what to focus on, we have to look at a few things. One, we're playing the most difficult stage in this rift, so we know we're going to be up against some challenge. Two, we're up against a blue boss, which means that we're really going to want to prioritize green heroes because they will have the color advantage. Color advantage in Gemstone Legends applies both to Gemstone attacks as well as special skills, so it's really important. And if you brought a red team in here, for example, you would get absolutely demolished even with a really good team because the color advantage would be towards the enemy and not to you. So that's one thing that's really important to keep in mind. So the reason I'm making this video is because I have finally created my team for this Rift level. And so that's a milestone for me because now I can move on to farming this efficiently, and level 20 has the highest chance for a 6-star artifact, which is great. And then I can start focusing on building a team for the Phoenix Rift. And once I have a solid team for the Phoenix Rift, or the P20 as they would call it, then there should be other rifts coming soon which I can focus on, or I can start leveling up and ascending heroes to use on my arena teams or perhaps on Guild War teams when those arrive to the game. But to stay focused on what we're going to talk about in this video, let's look at the team that I came up with. So in the Rift, a really key hero is Guinevere. So she is a speed leader in the Rift and increases the speed of all allies by 22%. So she's a really important piece to have. She's one of the first, if not the very first hero that I ascended. No, I think she was the second hero that I ascended to 6 stars. She's an incredible healer in this game and is really key for Rift farming, which is a key way to get artifacts and equipment. And as we've talked about in other videos, artifacts and equipment have a huge impact on the heroes that you put them on, sometimes doubling their stats or even more. So it's a really significant part of leveling up and developing your roster. So she is kind of the healing backbone here. I'm going to talk through the team as I have it now, and I'm going to explain some of my observations that led to what this team ended up being. The next hero I have is Zoe, who is another hero that I ascended to 6 stars, and that was strictly because she's going to be a really good hero in this Goliath Rift. She's also a great hero overall, so I think there was a lot of utility and value in that ascension because I'll be able to use her in other parts of the game. And she is a hero that puts defense down on all enemies for 3 turns, so she's a really important hero type. So first, they're firing from left to right. We would have Guinevere healing and raising the speed of all allies. Zoe also boosts the speed of all allies. You can see her passive ability grants increased speed at the start of each wave, which is really helpful. Next in line is Yabe, I assume is how that's pronounced. He's a speed leader for green allies, but Guinevere has a slightly better speed boost. He is going to deal AoE damage and puts vulnerability, which makes enemies more susceptible to damage from attacks, from special skills. And then he has a 20% chance to use his ability twice, so he can do a lot of damage. Next we have Tikar, I assume is how that's pronounced. And she's basically a sniper that does Assassin's Mark. She can hit up to 5 times, but it becomes pretty unlikely because it's only a 30% chance. However, she's typically on this Goliath, even at 550, 5 stars level 50, dealing about 25,000 damage, which is quite good for a single target hitter. She's a little bit on the squishy side, but because she's green, she's not being targeted by the Goliath very much. And then last is Viggo, I suppose, but I would guess Viggo. And he was a hero that was not on this team to begin with, but I substituted him in after doing some experimentation. So basically, he gains increased defense first, and then deals damage to a single enemy based on defense. So he's hitting pretty hard. If they have defense down and vulnerability, then he's hitting very hard. So him and Takar are dealing the majority of the damage. Guinevere is trying to keep people alive, speed them up. And what I had here before Viggo was Alexander. And my thought was, he has taunt, he can draw a lot of the damage and keep my team alive for longer, which in theory sounds like a really good idea. But what I was surprised to find out is that because he is a very passive hero, he's not an offensive hero, he's not dealing damage or speeding up the fight, it actually slowed me down to the point that I could not pass the levels. When I switched 550 Alexander for 550 Viggo, having that extra damage made the fight over faster, which actually succeeded in keeping me alive. So it was a bit of a counterintuitive thing. There's sort of a balance point you need to find between how much survivability do you need to add to your team before you're actually hindering your team by making it too passive. So it was a very pronounced effect that I was surprised to see. And the same is true for the dragon that I chose. You can see I have a green dragon, which has nothing to do with increased green damage or anything like that. They each just have different abilities. My usual go-to is Skyron, because you get decreased speed and a 20% chance to inflict freeze, which means that enemy with freeze on them, their turn gets skipped. Decreased speed changes up the order of which heroes fire when. So I had been using him thinking, or her I suppose, thinking that if Guinevere is boosting the speed of my allies and Skyron is decreasing the speed of my enemies, then they won't have turns very often. And in theory that is true, and that's actually helped me in the past when I was trying to beat easier levels in the Rift. That combination can make it so that your enemies have very few turns, and that can buy you a lot of time. What I was surprised to find here was that I did much better when I used Nagash, which is a healing dragon. And how this battle goes, because it's 4 green heroes and 1 yellow hero, they really target and pick on the yellow hero, because that's the only hero that the blues do not have a color disadvantage against. So I found that sometimes when auto-farming the Rift here, just based on a bad starting board or not getting enough green matches before the enemy has their string of turns, Guinevere would often get killed. Not often, but it was possible for her to get killed, and if she did get killed, my chances of winning were extremely low because the Goliath has a pretty high damage output, so you really need that healing from her. So this dragon gives me healing when the dragon is fired, in addition to adding recovery to all allies, and recovery grants healing to each ally on their turn. So it added a lot of survivability, and that with Viggo instead of Alexander was the perfect balance for this team to be able to auto farm. So it can still lose on occasion, just based on bad luck. If I had all these heroes at 660 instead of 3 at 550, then I think it would be pretty much foolproof. And a cool thing is this is the hardest level in the Rift, and you can see that I am farming this with 4 epic heroes, only one of which that's been ascended to 6 stars. The other 2 have just been ascended to 5 stars. So it was nice to see that I was able to achieve good results without having to invest a huge amount in my greens to get to this point. Because when I explained the Ascension priorities, these rifts are really key, but you only have so many Ascensions that you can get from leveling up heroes, and so it can feel disappointing to feel like you needed to use all of those to ascend, 4 green heroes just to be able to farm that. So what I wanted to do was to show, and we'll take a look at auto farming a level here in a second so you can see kind of how this looks. But what I wanted to show was an example of a team that's capable of doing this task, because I wasn't really sure what it would take. And so I wanted you guys to be well informed and to know that, okay, this is a reasonable goal for me to aim for. I can focus on making a few key Ascensions like Zoe, who's great on this team, but also great in other aspects of the game. So that was an easy Ascension to make because it benefits the Rift and also my gameplay all throughout. So without further ado, let's jump in and do an auto battle to simulate what farming would look like. You can see that right away we got the speed boost from Zoe. Not a lot of greens on the board, so it'll be interesting to see how this goes. And I'm just going to let it auto because, again, what we're trying to create here is a farming team. And so this is going to be one that you're not monitoring. So we've got a few greens here, and you can see that up at the turn bar on the top, there's about to be a big string of enemy turns. And so if we can't get some kind of good offense going on before that, then we're going to be in trouble. And you can see that we've had a really good start here. We've got recovery on everyone. We're fully healed. We had speed boost, and now we do again. And we're in a really strong position here, and it's our turn again. So if we can get some more greens here, which it looks like we can, then we're good to go. The annoying thing that can have an impact on whether you can auto farm these is that sometimes, for whatever reason, your heroes will choose to target what are called the totems, which are the little enemies on either side of the Goliath. Those do not need to be killed to clear the level, and it just slows you down. So it's kind of unfortunate, but that can happen sometimes. You would think that the greens would always target blue because they have a color advantage, but I've seen times where that wasn't the case. Okay, so we're getting into a little bit of trouble here, but we're about to have our dragon very soon, and you'll see how much that can make up from the health lost by Guinevere. But you can see we're motoring along quite well. Got Viggo doing with vulnerability and defense down about 20k damage. You can see Takar right there. That was about 15k that time because she only landed one Assassin's Mark. When her damage goes off, you'll often see a critical hit first in red, which will be a lower number, and then you'll see a yellow number flash after that. The yellow number is from the Assassin's Mark detonating right away. So that's true damage or pure damage. The defensive stat does not factor in. It's just taking away based on the HP of that hero. And so it's not consistent how many of those she'll land. She typically lands 1 or 2. It looks like so far she's been hitting only 1. But we're in really good shape here. We're not ending with perfect health, and I think don't be alarmed by that. But if you're trying to put together a team for this, monitor it a few times just to get an idea of what the average performance is. And you don't need full health. I would say we still comfortably cleared that. We had all heroes alive. So let's go through one more time. Feel free to fast forward if you want. I'm going to switch over to this chat so you don't have to read our guild chat. All right, another promising start. So the key is hopefully that you can get a few of these heroes down before it's their turn, so you're not just taking a bunch of damage from them. So again, we've got full health, and we've killed all but one, which is awesome. So this team, again, loses on occasion, but performs quite well more often than not. So I'm going to call it quits for this team and say this team can reliably farm. If I decide that any of these heroes at 550 are important for other aspects of the game, then I might ascend them. But I've already started thinking about and focusing on the Phoenix Rift and making some key blue ascensions, because that Rift boss is a red enemy. So these greens would get absolutely ripped apart there. And the Phoenix Rift is definitely more challenging because there's so much fire damage coming at you and it can stack on itself. So it can be, I'm trying to decide if I want to have immunity heroes, or if just like this one I can get away with having the healing dragon and as much damage as possible. So I haven't decided on the outcome of that yet. So it's looking like we're pretty comfortable. These battles can change pretty quickly because both attacks of the Goliath are really strong and both deal true damage as well. So you can see that yellow number that flashed afterwards was just like 10% of our HP getting taken away in addition to the attack-based hit. But then we've got some healing, we've got recovery, so once we get a string of turns again, we'll be doing pretty good. So feel free to ask any questions in the comments of this video if you're trying to put together one of these teams. Hopefully this was helpful in showing what kind of things to prioritize, what a well-synergized team looks like. Can't claim that this is the best team for this level, but I think this was the best in terms of what I had. And I like that in the process of creating it, I had to go back and forth a little bit thinking about that balance point of, at first thinking Alexander is going to make this team a lot stronger because he'll draw a lot of the hits, but it made the battle go on too long. And in this game, taunt cannot block AoE damage, so that Goliath hit would just devastate everyone, even with Alexander there. So it's much better that I'm getting those essentially 20k hits with Viggo. Every once in a while we'll lose a hero. It shouldn't be an issue, but we'll see what happens here in a second. So you can see we're definitely getting beat down. This is a challenge. We would be doing this a lot more comfortably if we had all those heroes at 660, but we're still clearing it over 90% of the time, I would say, which I'm pretty happy with. And and that was my fastest one. No, that was not my fastest one. There's a greatly increased chance for 6-star artifacts on level 20, so it's much better to prioritize that than level 19. So hopefully that was helpful. This was a really fun process for me to try to figure out how to achieve this pretty important milestone. I now have a reliable way of farming great gear when I don't have XP boosts to level up heroes, and I think that's really important. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you found a really good team that works, especially with heroes that are even more widely available, please do share that with us, because I think that can be to the benefit of a lot of other players. And again, I'll be making more of these guides, so please like this video if you enjoyed it. It helps other people find it, which helps everyone in this game. Additionally, consider subscribing if you would like to see more of these videos in the future, because I will be creating more of them. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to check out Gemstone Legends with me, there's some information in the description of this video, including a download link and a promo code. You're just going to hit the download link, install the game, play through the tutorial. Within 3 hours of downloading the game, after finishing the tutorial, enter the promo code that you can see here, #Spock_2021 hashtag. That will give you the starter bonus on the screen here that you can see, which is a great way to get a boost in the game. And it's possible that Elidor, the healer that you'll get, could be part of your Goliath 20 team, because he is green and he does heal everyone. So if you don't have Guinevere, that may be another possibility for you. Additionally, you'll get access to some beginner events once you start the game, which will give you the epic hero Soliana, in addition to a full set of 5-star legendary artifacts or equipment from the caster set, which improves or increases the mana gain of your heroes. And you'll also get a platinum scroll for another guaranteed epic or the highest chance at a legendary hero in the game. So if you're interested in checking out the game, check out that information in the description of this video. There are also other videos that I've mentioned that are really helpful if you haven't seen those yet. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.